On January 12th, 2010, I was finishing up a special project. I had co-founded an organization for discernment and action in the city of Boston, and we were converting a condemned, abandoned convent. And the last of that work was being done. I was painting the walls of the chapel. I noticed on my computer an alert email come in from Partners in Health. Some of you may know of that organization because you know of Dr. Paul Farmer. Others of you may have read the book by Tracy Kidder, Mountains Beyond Mountains. Some of you may have had contact with Dr. Jim Kim, who's the former president of Dartmouth. And still yet others might know of Partners in Health because Ophelia Dahl, the daughter of Roald Dahl and Patricia Neal. I got to work with all those people, and we got to focus our attention on making the world a better place by making sure that the care that is available here in the United States goes down the gradient of inequality to those who need it most, places like Haiti. So when this alert came in from Port-au-Prince by a colleague, I paid attention. It was a simple alert. Major earthquake. I'm okay. The team is okay. The town appears to be okay. I hope others are. That is what we call in global health a non-anxious presence in the midst of probably a significant catastrophe. And I sat there, paintbrush in hand, waiting. Maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds, but it felt like eternity. And boom. The emails started to flow. House collapsed. Hospital gone. People trapped. Send blood. Send surgeons. Help. People are missing. The presidential palace is gone. The cathedral is gone. There is nothing left in Port-au-Prince. I knew right there that I needed to leave the sanctuary of that space. I needed to go back to my colleagues at Partners in Health, and I knew that we were going to have to begin to coordinate a response. I tell you that story because it's a very important overlay for us as Christians. Just because I'm okay, and you are okay, and we are okay in this space, does not mean that others are okay. And if we refuse to look at others, if we refuse to move outside of ourselves, we're going to miss a lot of what Jesus told us to be on the lookout for. Another overlay for us as we approach this gospel today. Jesus repeatedly asks over and over again, do you see her? Do you see that woman at that well? Do you see him? Do you see that man in that ditch? Do you know there's a person up in the tree that nobody wants to talk to? Do you dare go into the house and eat with the person who should not be having the presence of the rabbi? And Jesus leans into that constantly in the Gospels. It made his disciples and those around him very uncomfortable. It makes some of us here in this space uncomfortable. And that overlay continues. As Jesus leaned into that and responded in love and in kindness and mercy and tenderness, those around him, even those closest to him, said, "What are you doing? Don't do that. Don't touch her. Don't eat with him. Don't get him out of the tree. Don't go over that well with her. Don't bring him to the pool." And time again, what happens? Jesus does it. he persists, and healing and wholeness is made when Jesus speaks those words of everlasting life. See, hear, love, for your faith has made you well. This gospel is really to be understood in the gospel of last week. It's sort of one of those moments where we're kind of in an episode of Doctor Who. Despite us going through Holy Week, despite us going through the death, despite us sitting quietly on Holy Saturday, despite the vigil, despite the resurrection and all of those resurrection stories, we are now in the Gospel of John and Jesus' last discourse. And the language is unique. It's different than Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And the language needs to be broken open for us as Christians in 2026 yet again. If we want to be people who see God, if we want to be people who know God, if we want to be people who love God, then I believe there's something we need to begin to understand in Christianity of today. Too many Christians have a cookie cake batter recipe. If you do A and B and C, you are saved, and salvation is yours. I think this gospel talks about something that we don't talk too much about, particularly in the Western church. If you come out of the Greek Orthodox Church or the Russian Orthodox Church, you may have heard about Theosis. Theosis is right here in the Scriptures. Jesus says, if you see me and I see you, if you are in relationship with me and I am in relationship with you, if you believe in me and I see you, you believe in the one who sent me, and you and me are one with the one who is. Saint Athanasius says, God became a human being that we may become divine. How does that sit with your theology? Does it sound like a heresy? From the earliest moments of the church, from this gospel itself, we don't become God. God is God. But what we do is we embrace the very thing that God created us to be in the Imago Dei, the beloved creation of the Creator, who wants nothing more that all of us are one, so that we may become one with God, who is one. Two quick things for us. Fortunately for the mothers here, you're not going to hear a sermon continue on the Trinity. I will leave that for some other preacher a couple of Sundays from now. We'll all get to brunch soon enough. But within the Trinity, there is something that I think is very important, which is the divine economy. Economia is the Greek word that is often used in the New Testament. Economia, before it became economy in English, was about the right ordering of the domestic household. It was about stewardship. It was about care. And that idea came into being because the Trinity itself is a divine economy. And the currency in that divine economy is love. And that love pulls together Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That love pulls together the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sanctifier. And that love is so unconditional. Guess what? It can't simply be contained in the Godhead. It pours itself out in the Incarnation. God becomes a human being, not only to draw us into the divine, love poured out. But for God to pour God's self into our humanity, God knows everything that unfolds in our life. That earthquake saw 225,000 people killed. It introduced cholera to Hispaniola. Haiti and the Dominican Republic share the same island. It has led to the continual destruction of that island, which is now fully erupted in gang violence. It was not my first earthquake or my last earthquake, either literally or figuratively in global health and in public health. But you know, the first real earthquake for me was figurative. At 16 years old, sitting in the Museum of Science library, I got a phone call from Italy that my boss, who had been on a one-week sojourn to Rome, was off on an island because he had an infectious disease. And even though I was 16, I knew exactly what was unfolding. It was 1988. He had HIV and had AIDS, and the spinal meningitis was just the beginning of a journey. At 16, I was one of those people who could not be easily shushed. Not sure I can be easily shushed during this sermon either, but here we go. I knew who to call, Senator Ted Kennedy, and I said, my boss is stuck in Italy on that island where they're putting people with HIV, and we need to get him back to Boston. We need to get him treated. We need to put him into a place where he will be loved and cared for. And we got him back, and we put him into the hospice on Mission Hill. AIDS has killed 44 million people. 44 million people. 700,000 alone in the United States. Here's the zinger. In 1996, a cocktail was created, a triple cocktail, which we now call antiretrovirals. If you delivered this antiretroviral, you did not die. Between 1988 and 1996, 158 people who I accompanied in ministry died. In 1996, at Mass General Hospital, I went down on the 6th floor and watched as Bobby passed away, and I went upstairs 4 more flights, and the person who was there was being admitted into a trial. Bobby died. Jimmy is still alive. That cocktail cost $30,000 then. When I got to Partners in Health, we knew we had to get that cocktail from $30,000 to $75. And know what else we noted? We needed to make sure that kids had a pill that was kid-sized. And that's what we did. All of a sudden, those pills flowed down the gradient. They flowed down in love. They flowed down because we refused to avert our gaze from the other. We refused to say, we're okay, others are okay, everything must be okay. We knew it was not okay. We moved in love. Last week, we heard in this gospel something that continues to shock people. Jesus, not Ed Cardoza from Manchester, Jesus says, you my beloveds, that's you and me, you will see things far greater than I do. Really? You raise the dead. You give sight to those who are blind. You give hearing to those who can't hear. You are going to tell us that we shall see things more powerful. We see things more powerful every day. We need to put our attention and our focus on those things. We see moms and dads no longer dying of HIV and AIDS in places like Haiti and Kenya. We see people who have their hearts literally taken out of their chest cavities, put on ice, while their valves are completely replaced and put back in so that they live. Here in this space, we will see people who will get cancer treatment, which 10 years ago would have been a death sentence. But today, they too, like Lazarus, will be resuscitated. So, beloved, on this Mother's Day, and I know some of us have had complicated relationships with our mothers, whether it's your mother by birth or your mother by choice, we have all seen that unconditional, tender love. Let us use these metrics, these unconditional metrics, that just do the following. Move beyond yourself. Move beyond being good and being fine and everything's well to the possibility that outside these doors, everything is not well. That our responsibility as church, as Christians, is to make that divine economy of the Trinity fully present in how we see, hear, and act and do. Be people of mercy and tenderness and compassion. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, and Jesus keeps his eyes on us, we rest in the God who is our deepest desire. Beloved John, this gospel tells us what the most deepest desire is, that we may all be one. Let's be about that work today, in our homes and in our communities, in our state, in our country, and in our world. That we may be in Jesus, Jesus may be in us, and that we may be in God. These hands, these feet, and as Episcopalians, these minds, teach us a different way, a different antidote. This is our work, the mission of God, our mission. Amen.